Hello and welcome back to another episode of my MotoGP 20 career mode here in MotoGP, and this time we've got the fourth round at Jerez to do. So we'll advance to that. Obviously we've got actually only 1 week. I was about to say we've got a couple of weeks. We've got a notification on the technical staff front, so we'll have a look at that then. So a new chief engineer applying, obviously the same one again. So really good on the aero, pretty bad on the engine, pretty bad on the frame, and awful on the electronics. So good in the area we've finished developing, bad in all the areas we haven't developed, so refuse. Sorry, you're not getting a job here. Right, that was a bit savage, I suppose. But really, to be honest, we've not got anything to do now. Obviously, we've addressed all the notifications that were here, so we'll head straight into Jerez, and I'll see you in Q1. So then, we're here for Q1 at Jerez. You can see the track is wet, so obviously the fastest times of the session are going to come at the end, so we can do as many laps as we want at the start. We're not going to get through. So I think I am going to do a couple laps just to get used to the bike earlier on in the session, but obviously then I'll do my actual proper lap right at the end because that's when we will be fastest. So let's see who's in the session with us this time. Nakagami's back in the session. Oh, this time Jack Miller's gone straight through, so for the first time this season it won't be me and Jack Miller going through into Q2. So we've got Petrucci's in here again. Petrucci is really not doing a good job this season with the qualifying. Bagnaia as well, Nakagami, and it's just the same old people other than that. I must say, I'm always impressed by Aleix Bagro. He gets through every single time straight away on the free practice time. So we've only got 3 tyres, actually. Okay, we've got 4 on the rear. The race is dry, so we have all the tyres we want. Well, we can use all these tyres for qualifying. That's perfectly fine. But obviously, we haven't actually got that many, so I don't want to do too many laps to start with. But there has been a patch since the last episode. Obviously, the Red Bull rookies and the Moto2 and Moto3 update patch. However, apparently I've not noticed this myself because I recorded the historic challenges since, and that was as easy as always. But I have heard from other people that play the game, so other like YouTubers that have said in their videos that apparently the AI are a bit quicker. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Obviously, if they are significantly faster, then I'll have to have a look at actually upgrading the bike to compete. Because obviously the only reason I've not upgraded it so far is to make it fun and competitive. So we'll head out onto the track now then, and we'll do a couple laps, and then we'll do a lap right at the end of the session. So then, we're out onto the track. Obviously the traction control, I usually use 2. I'm going to go down to 2 for now, but obviously it is wet, so I might need to up it later on. The front feels awful. Also, I have got to get used to this bike, and again, the front end is the main problem with it. I mean, it doesn't stop great, doesn't turn great, as I've basically been banging on about the whole season. But the front is definitely the thing I have to get used to first, so I took the front so much when I first started and do stoppies like that as well. So through the first corner, we've actually stayed on the bike, surprisingly enough. So obviously only 12 minutes left in the session now, so I have got to watch out that it took 2 minutes then, around about, to actually get out when I press flying start. Oh, don't know if I'll date my lap, but I don't want to go on the grass, to be honest. Last time we were obviously here at Jerez doing a qualifying lap, we ended up on the grass. So we're already 2 tenths down almost off the time, which is kind of worrying because you'd think that you'd just be always going faster than whoever previously set a lap. Well, it does take me a couple of laps to get used to this bike every time, doesn't it? It's going to be quite interesting for the race. We're now 28 thousandths underneath, so through that second sector we're gaining the time back. But yeah, in the race it'll be particularly interesting since it's dry, so I'll be used to riding the bike in the rain, and I'll have to adapt in the early stages of the race to the dry. So hopefully that doesn't cost us much time. I really want to try and see if we can get a victory now in this season. Obviously we've had a 2nd place, we've had a 3rd place, we've had a 5th place. So can we try and get a victory? It's obviously the only place on the podium we haven't had yet. So still 14 thousandths underneath. Danilo Petrucci's now gone down on the mission with Ducati. So his season's going from bad to worse. Rabat's gone down, so I wonder if they've gone down together. There is a, well, it's not a, I wouldn't say it's a bug, but when the AI go into the pits here, they go very slow right on the racing line, and they do have collisions, because I do remember seeing it before in previous seasons of career mode. So through Jorge Lorenzo corner then, firing it out. Will we still have the pole position coming up towards the line? We've done a massive wheelie, so probably not. It's coming up towards the line then. No, we are still fastest. It doesn't tell me by how much. We've gone a bit hot into the first corner. Yeah, we're not getting that one stopped. Obviously an easy track to actually overshoot the first corner if you're looking at the time, since you have to brake so quickly after you've gone over the line. I think I actually caught Joan Mir out in real life last year. So I'll probably have to head back to the pits now just purely because of the fuel. I accidentally turned the traction control down instead of the fuel there. Obviously that time's not going to stand because obviously the session's going to get better. So we'll go out again towards the end and see if we can improve, or we should be able to. So then with around 5 minutes to go, how many seconds are we off? Actually, only 8/10 off, and considering how much the track will have improved, that's quite good. So I think I might actually keep on the same set of tyres, as we only did one lap. So I'll head out onto the track once again then, and try and get back up into that top spot. Petrucci seems to have recovered from his crash, obviously earlier on in the session. Brad Binder's now gone down, although he's just gone into the pits. Oh yeah, I was going to say, I've just sort of watched him go into the pits, but he actually did crash. His bike's just skittling across, so maybe another bug, because I've just seen Zarco's dot respawn into the pits as well. So I think maybe they've just crashed going into the pit lane. There's another crash. Then Petrucci's down for a second time in the session then. So we're about 2/10 off Alex Marquez's time now in the first sector. So Alex Marquez looking to go through into Q2 for the first time this season. Obviously, he got a very good result in the last race. 4th place, he managed to pass Valentino Rossi with a couple of corners to go. I did feel for Rossi a little in that race. We're now a 10th underneath Marquez's time. But yeah, I did feel for Rossi a little bit, because obviously he led the entire thing and then at the end just got mugged by everybody. Obviously he got the pole position as well, so he had the pace the entire weekend. It's just right at the end, I just don't think he'd looked after his tyre that great. And once Vinales had made the move, he just went... Well, he didn't go backwards, he still finished 5th, but he lost quite a few spots. Crutchlow went more further backwards. So we're still a 10th underneath Alex's time then. Coming out the last corner, we went in pretty wide, so we might have lost a bit of time there. As we come up towards the line, I'll turn down the power mode just in case we need to go for another lap, because there's a minute left. Yeah, we've gone 5th place, so we are going to have to go again. So we're 3/10 underneath almost in the first sector, so we found massive time. Good job we are staying out right till the end, because obviously the flag will be about out by the time we go over the line, which is why I wanted to do 2 laps on this stint. Now we're 7/10 underneath Alex's time, so we're really finding the pace. Now the track is dry, the tyres are up to temperature. Now we're 9/10 underneath, so we're almost a second under his time. I think I remember once before in one of the previous seasons that we were so much faster on the second lap of wet track, just because the tyres had so much more grip. Out of the last corner then, we've lost barely any fuel on this lap. Sort towards the line then, what's the time going to be? 1:39.0. So we timed that to perfection really. 1:39.0, 1 second faster than Alex Marquez in second. So me and Alex Marquez are going to go through into qualifying 2. Francesco Bagnaia there 3rd. Petrucci once again being knocked out of Q1, so he didn't get into Q2. A pretty bad result there. Rabat at the back of the grid then. My teammate Oliveira 10th and my other teammate Lecuona 7th. So hopefully those guys can try and score some points in this race. So let's head into Q2 now, and I'm definitely going to do the same strategy, going out right at the end. Hopefully it'll work again and we'll get another good qualifying position. So then we're here in qualifying 2 now then. So I'll probably go back out on this same set of tyres just to do another couple of laps at the start of the session, just to set a banker time in case I make a mistake or something on my actual good lap. And I also want to get a bit of a gauge of what the other guys can do whilst I'm on track. Now obviously it's worth mentioning that the way this game works is that this wet track won't have started at the same amount of dryness that the previous session left with, so the same dry line is in there obviously, because that's how this game works. It'll be the same level of wetness it was at the start of the previous session, at the start of this one, and at the end of this session it'll be like it was in the previous session. So I'm guessing we'll have to brake a lot earlier. Yes, we're doing a massive stopping towards the first corner. Morbidelli coming out the pits just in front of us. But Jerez, other than Moto 3 really, has been a pretty good stomping ground for me. Obviously I won in Moto 2, we did get a podium in Moto 3, so it was our worst race of the season, but it was because we had the crash with Foggia and we got massive damage, and obviously it was still like the second day the game came out, so I wasn't quite up to speed yet either. But in obviously Moto 2 we had very good pace. This was our first win of the season, came here in Moto 2, so it'd be nice if we could have a repeat of that here in MotoGP, but I don't see it particularly likely. Especially over a whole long race distance. We've gone a bit wide into dry sack here. It's actually not dry sack anymore, it's the Dani Pedrosa corner. Out the last corner then, coming up towards the line. It's not going to be a very good lap then. 40, sorry, 41. So 41.5, which actually did put us top of the session apparently, which I didn't expect. Obviously that's only going to be temporary. So yeah, I still feel pretty comfortable with the bike. Obviously a little bit worse than at the end of the previous session. So we'll fast forward to probably about 5 minutes to go again, and we'll head back out and do 2 laps at the end of the session on a fresh set of tyres. So then, with around 5 minutes to go, the times seem pretty similar to Q1. Dovi's time very close to what Alex Marquez managed to pull off. We're actually still beating Alex Marquez at this point. We're 1.4 seconds off, so we should be able to find that. So we'll head out onto the track then for our final run of the qualifying session. So Morbidelli's gone down then. But we are bottom of the pile, dead last. Obviously, Alex Marquez must have improved on his time by now. So Dovizioso with the 40.1. So it is a little bit quicker than it was in Q1. So as we brake towards the first corner. So crash again. Loads and loads of crashes seem to be happening into the pit lane here. Literally every AI is about crashed into that pit lane. So we're 3 tenths away from Dovi's time right now, which is actually pretty good still, even though we're going to have another lap after this. Oh, Miller's just gone fastest, but a 39.3, but that's actually made our first sector a red first sector, so Miller's must have been slower. So we're 21 thousandths under the pole time right now, but Jack Miller on course for pole position. Very realistic here, mixed conditions for Miller to be quickest. So now 3, nearly 4 tenths away from Miller's time, so we lost a load of time there. So coming towards the line then, where will this put us? 40.3, so it only puts us 11th place, so not much of an improvement, so we're going to have to go for it on this lap. So 2 tenths underneath in the first sector, a crash for Miller then now. So Miller's gone faster, so now he's gone down. 53 thousandths under Miller's time. We braked too early for the Dani Pedrosa corner, it's probably going to cost us quite a bit of lap time. Still 53 thousandths underneath, so we're still on course for pole position through the third sector. Into the last corner now then. The front feeling awful through the last corner. Will this put us pole position? Dovizioso's gone down, so I think he's gone into the pit lane, so he's not going to be able to beat us. As we come up towards the line, then is it going to be pole position here in MotoGP? No, 36 thousandths off of Jack Miller's time. And that is the session over, but we can still go for one more, but I don't think we're going to have it, especially after running wide to that first corner. So then, at the end of that qualifying session, pretty mixed up, of course, obviously being the wet weather, Jack Miller, the king of drying conditions, gets pole position. So, like I commented on in the session, that's pretty realistic, to be fair, that Miller gets that position there. Second position for us on the Tech 3 KTM, so I will take that. I will definitely 100% take that. So we're starting on the front row for the first time. Fantastic starting position there. Rossi in third, Dovizioso fourth, Quartararo fifth, and Marquez down in sixth place, although I'm sure it won't take him long to get through. Crutchlow seventh, Aleix Espargaro actually doing pretty well in eighth there. 9th for Morbidelli, 10th for Vinales, 11th for Rins, and 12th for Alex Marquez, which I suppose is to be expected. He's not been that strong over one lap. I think he just put in a good time right at the end of Q1 to get him through, but you can see obviously he's a good half a second off the nearest rider. So then let's head into the race. We get to start on the front row. Oh, this could be chaotic into the first corner. So we're down here on the grid then. Jack Miller on pole position. Obviously Valentino Rossi in third. He probably has got the pace to really try and take the lead at the beginning of this race, because me and Miller, well, to be fair, I've had 2 podiums this season, but Miller's not really had the pace to fight at the front this season. Although me and him have been very close in qualifying, it's been quite odd. Dovizioso then starting in 4th place on the grid. So this could be very hectic as we go towards the first corner. And there's myself in 2nd place. So it's a 9-lap race by the looks of it then, because we've got 9 laps of fuel on board. So a long, old race. I don't think the hard tyres are the tyre you want to go for at this track, although to be honest, it didn't really work at Termas either. So I think the hard tyres mainly to be avoided. I have sort of learnt my mistake from Termas. It wasn't bad, but at the start of the race, obviously, I was struggling quite a lot. I was only just being able to keep with the group, but then obviously at the end, it all kicked off. So then, 2nd position on the grid. Let's get this race started. So Miller's looking straight ahead, myself looking straight ahead, Rossi looking straight ahead as well. So we're here then, putting up to Palmo 2, waiting for the lights to go out here in Jerez. The lights and away we go off the line. I think Rossi's already got the jump on us. We've not had the best start. Bit of a wheelie there. That's allowed Dovizioso through as well. So we go towards the first corner, hitting the brakes a bit early. Marquez on the inside as well. Quartararo bullying his way through. So we've had a pretty atrocious start, really. Down to 7th from 2nd on the grid. Although we're coming back a little bit into Michelin. The front end of this bike feels so strange compared to the wet conditions, of course. Dovizioso's on the inside between Dovizioso. Oh, Rossi! Rossi's done a massive high start. He's took out Quartararo. We're back up into 3rd position, though, now. But Quartararo being collected in Rossi's high side there. Rossi goes onto the grass. Quartararo has a massive... Quartararo just rams into him. Massive crash for both those riders. So Miller still leads. A crash by Bradley Smith is now down. Vinales up to 4th. That's been a fantastic start from Maverick Vinales. We've not had the best start, but I did say Marc Marquez would be straight through. And yes, he is up into 2nd place. I wonder how long it'll be before he overtakes Jack Miller for the lead. Another crash. Oliveira's down, so my teammate's now down. So plenty of crashes on this first lap. Not sure what happened with Rossi. He just seemed to go on the grass. Massive high side. Just collected Quartararo, unfortunately. So that's those two probably out of the race. And that's a massive blow to Quartararo's championship. So at the end of this first lap, then Miller still leads ahead of Marquez in 2nd. But I don't think Marquez will be sitting behind him for too much longer. And I'm just trying to stay with them, because obviously I want to be as close as I can to Marquez, since he is actually my championship rival. So we're approaching the Dani Pedrosa corner. We're actually really closing up to Marquez. Marquez actually isn't all over the back of Miller like I'd expect him to be. So Miller probably genuinely has the pace here in Jerez to run well. I mean, he's on a very good bike. So now that he's qualified well, he's actually been able to show his pace, it seems. So through the last corner, then we're all over the back of Marquez. I'm trying to stay close to him because Vinales is looking like he's probably going to make a move on us soon. We're going to the outside of Marquez here. We're going to be able to pass him. So fast lap of the race to Miller, 38.5, 38.2 to myself, but we've just gone past Marquez on the brakes, but we've ran a bit wide. That's allowed Marquez through. We're going to try and hang it around the outside. Yes, we can, and we're still going to try and get it stopped. Yes, we are. So we're in front of Marquez now, up to second position in this race. Jack Miller standing between us and leading a MotoGP race right now. So coming up towards the line then at the end of the third lap, Miller still leads. Another 38.3 then for me this time. So Marquez still third, but him and Vinales started battling a little bit, which actually has cost them a bit of time. So as we go through the Jorge Lorenzo corner then, at the end of this lap, I've put my traction control up to 3 because the rear tyre, you can see, is very, very warm and I don't want it to wear out. And I didn't think I'd be able to put a hard in. Marquez just done the fastest lap, 38.1, so he's definitely coming back at us. To Jorge Lorenzo corner once again at the end of the 5th lap then. So Miller's been leading for just over half race distance now in the slipstream of Miller. I sense Marquez doesn't want to wait behind me much longer. Fast lap of the race, 38.0. We got the inside of Miller into the first corner. He's trying to hang it around the outside, but we've taken the lead here in Jerez. Marquez actually went still even faster, 37.9. Don't know if that's Alex or Mark though, because it doesn't actually tell you. I think it's Mark, but I can't be too sure. So we've hit the front then here in Jerez. I don't want to sit behind Miller for any longer because I felt like Marquez was ready to make a move on me at any moment. So coming towards the line then at the end of lap 6. 37.3, so massively faster. 1 second ahead of Miller now. We have really upped the pace here. Starting the penultimate lap then, still in the lead. 1.3 seconds ahead of Miller now. Miller's still holding Marquez up, which is really helping me out. I've had to go into pound mid zero because we're a bit low on fuel. So starting the final lap then, 37.7. We have slowed down, but still 1.4 seconds ahead of Miller. So we've just got to bring the bike home now, and we'll have our first victory in MotoGP. So as we go into Michelin for the final time. Flicking the bike over. The bike has been wheeling out of there a lot. So that's definitely an area you can see that the bike is really bad on the anti-wheelie. I mean, it's not great in a lot of areas, but I nearly called this track Le Mans then. But Jerez, to be honest, the track is actually kind of played to our strengths a little bit. There's not too many hard braking zones. And I'm starting to learn how to brake with this bike. I've started to learn how to ride this bike, ride around the problems. And it seems to be paying off here at Jerez. So there's a break for Danny Pedrosa for the final time. 1.5 seconds now in front of Miller, so we are still pulling away even on the last lap. Looks like Marquez can't do anything to get around him. So we go into turn 7. Oh, nearly a crash then. That would have been atrocious on the final lap to have chucked it away. Into the Aspar corner. Then coming into Angel Nieto. Turn 9 on the circuit, and then the corner that I can't pronounce is next. 1.2 seconds to Miller, so yeah, losing quite a bit of time then from the near crash. So we're coming into the last sector almost now. Alex Crivier, we've ran wide through Alex Crivier. Through Ferrari then, and then down towards Jorge Lorenzo, where obviously we've had the pace the entire race on the exit of this corner, so we should be alright. The tyre seems to have actually survived there. So Quartararo was still in the race, and he's just taken 17th from Morbidelli, but no points for him then. But up towards the line, we're going to win our first race in MotoGP here at Jerez for the Tech 3 KTM team. So then, yes, we won the race out of Jack Miller in second place. So fantastic job by Jack Miller. Well done, Jack Miller, putting it on pole in the wet. I thought he would go backwards in the race, but no, he's actually held on to second place, and he would have won it if it wasn't for me. It was only a second off the victory. He had fantastic pace really the whole race. It's just I felt Marquez was getting too close to me, and I thought I had to really push and go past him. And really, just as I was saying that, then I managed to outbrake him into the first corner. Managed to put a bit of a gap into him, and that was really the race done. But we had pretty similar pace throughout the race. I had a couple attempts on him here and there, and I think that's just what added up to pulling out a bit of a lead on him. So Vinales ended up 4th then, so obviously my 2 championship rivals, Marquez and Vinales, since Vinales is right behind me in the championship. They both qualified quite poorly, although Marquez was only 6th, but they've done pretty good to get 3rd and 4th there. Rins obviously in 5th place. Dovizioso, I think he started 4th, he ended up 6th. Quite how that's happened, considering Rossi got absolutely, Rossi RKO'd Quartararo at the beginning of the race. I was about to say Rossi got RKO'd, but no, he was definitely the causer of the crash there. Jean Mir in 7th. Petrucci manages to claw his way up to 8th, apparently with the fastest lap, but I find that hard to believe since it didn't come up until right at the end. So one of those things with the simulated times. You can see the guys are actually on the podium, did 37.8. That's probably the pace of the AI really. Alex Marquez then in 10th position, 38.1. So Rossi retired then. So did Crutchlow. So did Crutchlow get involved in that crash? I think he might have done then. Rabat ended up 21st. Oliveira in 20th. So unfortunate there, but he did obviously have that crash. Lecuona gets us another point for the Teams Championship. And he managed to beat both Petronas Yamahas there. So in the championship then, obviously taking 9 points away from Marquez, taking his lead down to 14 points, which is pretty good. As we now obviously, we've headed into Europe. We've done the first race here in Europe, 14 points behind. We've got plenty of time to gain that back, so we've actually got a good shot at winning this title here. But I don't want to speak too early, of course. And actually, we've got 72 points, which is obviously the lucky number. Maverick Vinales stays third. Then Dovizioso, despite not finishing particularly well, obviously moves up to fourth since Quartararo got destroyed in that race. That has actually done a big blow to Quartararo's championship, because he'd been very good up until that point. And unfortunately, someone else's error. I think same with Cal Crutchlow here, unless he's had a separate crash, I don't know. But he's been doing very well up to this point. He's lost quite a few places to Miller. Miller's now put himself up to 6th in the championship with that fantastic second position. Alex Marquez obviously dropping down to 8th. Obviously he got 4th in the previous race, which elevated him quite a bit. Rins recovering from his crash in the previous race to 9th place. Didn't gain anything, but he's got some points back on the board. Rossi's now down to 11th in the championship. He's got 19 points. Compare that to Vinales then. So Vinales got 57 and Rossi's got 19. He's had an abysmal season, poor Valentino. Although Morbidelli, his protege, is even further down, 15 points. So the, I hate to say, number 2 riders in Yamaha are not doing too well. In the Teams Championship then, we move up 2 positions, up to 2nd in the Championship. So we leapfrog both of the Yamaha teams then into 2nd. 38 points down on Repsol Honda, which is obviously quite a bit since, yes, we've obviously got 3 riders in our team compared to their 2, but it's almost like having 1 against 2 because they're only... Lecuona and Oliveira are going to pick up the occasional points, don't get me wrong, but it's not going to be a massive amount. So obviously Rossi's poor season not helping out Monster Energy Yamaha, although I think in his defence, other than Austin, he's not been too bad. I think, well, obviously he crashed here, but he's got quite unlucky, I think, a couple of times. Michelin Ducati move up to 4th then, Petronas Yamaha down to 5th place. In the Constructors standings then, we now move up to 2nd once again. Obviously 72 points then in KTM, since I have been the top of my constructor every time, and it's a 14-point gap since basically at the minute the Constructors Championship is the Honda versus KTM. It's actually just me versus Marquez because we've both been the top scorers of our manufacturers respectively in every race. So then we'll go have a look at some of those crashes. All the crashes happened on the first lap, I think. I don't think there was actually any after the first lap, so we need to go and have a look, see what happened, see what Rossi actually did. I just saw him go on the grass. Massive high side. Poor Quartararo. He probably could have got out of the way, but it was just me and Dovi were both on his left. There's not a lot he could do. So then on board with Rossi, as you can see, he literally did just go too wide, get on the grass, massive high side. It's a pretty bad camera. You don't see much of what happened, but you do see it tumbling a lot. And that was actually Rossi out the race then, obviously. So I'll try and slow it down then, but you don't really see much. He just gets on the power too early. He's just gone way too wide in there. I'm guessing what he's doing is he's trying to basically he's trying to take this corner flat. Now what you need to do, you need to be on the line Miller's on. Miller is on the right line here, so you go basically full throttle, and you can then run right onto this exit curb. I think I did that a few times in the race. Going onto that exit curb is exactly something you want to do, but his AI here has not realised it's on the wrong line, tried to basically go flat out through there as if he'd go onto that exit curb, and he's just hit the grass before he's at the curb, and down he goes. So this is on board with Cal then. You can see Rossi high side there. Quartararo hits him. And then, Cal just goes straight into his bike in the middle of the road. And his bike, wow, look at Cal's bike. It tumbles so many times. So if we slow it down on board with Cal, then Cal is just on his racing line. And then there's 2 Yamahas in the track in front of him. I mean, yeah, his AI doesn't seem to have done any effort to avoid it. But I don't think he would have even been able to if he tried. Because that's like stuff we've had in the 181 Rider Championship last year, where there's 2 bikes just in the middle of the track, or even 1 bike. You just sometimes are going at it so fast, you can't swerve one way or the other because you don't have enough time to think which way to go. And that was Crutchlow destroyed then. So if we look on board Quartararo then, obviously you can see he's on the outside, he's sandwiched next to me. And I felt a bit bad that I kind of just made him go into him, but nothing I could do. I couldn't get over anymore because Dovi was on my left, but Quartararo obviously got back on. Oh, Morbidelli got involved as well, so both the Petronas Yamahas went down there. I mean, we'll slow it down for Quartararo, but there's not much to say. Rossi high-sided there. Quartararo actually basically did the line I was describing. Not quite the same. In fact, actually, he's done what Rossi should have done then, it seems. Yeah, because he's actually taken the same line as Valentino, if you look a couple in front. They're both really wide going in. And Rossi's tried to carry more throttle through. Quartararo's done it properly, and that's actually, you know, been a very bad thing for Quartararo, because he's then just been in the path of Rossi's bike. Then obviously you can see then Crutchlow getting involved as well. We'll have to have a look at Morbidelli's point of view. So on board with Morbidelli, he's on the curb on the outside as well, and oh, poor old Morbidelli, he actually gets hit by Cal's bike then. Crutchlow just hits the bike, then his bike skittles across the front of Morbidelli's. That's just basically folded Morbidelli's front, and then the physics has just taken over. Then he's got back on the power and he's had a pretty big crash. Vinales was very lucky to get out of that, and I suppose that's how he climbed so many positions quickly. Like, I give him good credit for that, to be up to 4th so fast, but to be honest, Rossi did the work for him. It's controversial though, Rossi's crash takes out basically 3 Yamaha riders, since he is one of them, of course. So Bradley Smith obviously also crashed on the first lap, and here he goes. Aleix Espargaro's pretty far down the order, since he's already caught up to him. And that was actually a similar crash to what Rossi did, just went too wide into a corner and then got on the grass and fell off. Really weird move, that. Oh, and he almost got hit by Quartararo. So we'll slow it down then. You can see he's going in, right behind Aleix. Aleix again qualified really well, but now he's right near the back with Bradley. And he's just gone in too wide, got a rear wheel on the grass. And massive crash. Well, it's not a particularly big crash. It's quite a fast corner though. Although for what he did... Oh, Rabat's been collected as well, I think, unless Rabat's just done the same thing. So we'll have to have a look at Rabat's point of view. So yeah, if you look at Rabat, then he's just done the same thing. He's not been collected. So a bit weird then. A lot of AI is running off the track and crashing. And obviously Oliveira also crashed, so here we are on board with him through Aspar corner. And again, he just goes too wide, clips the grass, and down he goes. What is it with riders on this first lap, clipping the grass and crashing? So I'm really happy to have finally won a race here in MotoGP. It's not taken us very long, obviously only 4 races, and on a very uncompetitive bike really as well. So that's definitely the cherry on top of the cake. It looks like it's going to be a good championship fight. It seems like I have very similar pace with the AI. And to be honest, this is the first time I've actually beaten Marquez in a race, so it's definitely not like a done thing here. He'll definitely strike back at Le Mans. Don't you forget that. So then we get the winning animation, this time being in the middle of the podium, jumping up onto the top set. Hervé Poncharal there on the podium as well to collect the Constructors' Trophy, shaking hands with both Marquez and Miller. It's an interesting top 3 really, isn't it? You wouldn't have bet that a KTM and Miller would be on the podium. Well, I suppose in real life, Miller being on the podium isn't, you know, ridiculous, but considering his pace this season so far, you wouldn't have expected him to be on the podium at the next race. But a good result nonetheless. So then on the reputation front, we gain 9,350, getting a little bit extra obviously because we won the race this time. And once again the hefty paycheck, 32,863 credits, which takes us up to 313,435. And we're actually now on 319,050 reputation points as well, I forgot to say that. So I hope you did enjoy that video then. Finally getting our first win in MotoGP. It's been a very successful start to the season. I think it was a similar start to Moto2 season last year, and I was like, oh, it's been a bit of a rubbish start, but considering the equipment we're on, it's been pretty good. Starting on the front row, so it's getting closer to that pole position. Obviously, we had only missed pole about 3 or 4 times before this season. I think we had about 36 poles out of 40 races or something like that. It was something ridiculous. Obviously, we were the pole position master. Now it seems like we have to try and gain positions in the race, and I'm losing positions off the start as well, which is again something else that never used to happen in Moto2. Well, it did, I think, before we upgraded the electronics. I think that's the main problem. Like I said, I hope you did enjoy that video. I hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. I hope you're all staying safe, and I shall see you in the next one.